Imagine if we could measure the energy our bodies burn during exercise. This is where the science of calorimetry comes in. In the world of exercise science, we're devoted to understanding the energy our bodies expend during physical activity. This knowledge isn't just academic, it's critical for understanding the energy cost of various activities, managing weight through caloric expenditure, and identifying the type of fuel our muscles use during exercise. Calorimetry, at its core, is a technique for measuring this energy expenditure. We define it as the measurement of heat production, usually noted in units of calories. Since every metabolic process results in heat production, we can estimate an individual's metabolic rate by measuring this heat. This process is known as direct calorimetry. Direct calorimetry allows us to estimate the metabolic rate of a person at rest and during exercise. But it's important to note that this method isn't without its challenges. Using human calorimetry chambers for direct calorimetry is pretty costly and impractical for many professionals. Now, this doesn't mean we're out of options. In fact, there's another approach that's more commonly used. It's called indirect calorimetry, and it's based on measuring oxygen consumption. This process capitalizes on the relationship between oxygen consumption and heat production, enabling us to get an accurate estimate of an individual's metabolic rate. When we talk about oxygen consumption, we're referring to VO2, which represents the volume of oxygen consumed per minute. A significant increase in oxygen consumption during exercise means a higher metabolic rate compared to when we're at rest. To assess an individual's cardiovascular fitness, we conduct a graded exercise test to exhaustion on a treadmill or bicycle ergometer. This test unveils the person's maximal oxygen consumption, or VO2 max, which is considered a gold standard for assessing fitness levels. Direct calorimetry might be accurate, but it's not always the most practical method. Let's dive into another method that's more commonly used. So, what's the alternative to direct calorimetry? It's called indirect calorimetry, and it's based on measuring oxygen consumption. Indirect calorimetry capitalizes on the relationship between oxygen consumption and heat production. Every breath you take, every muscle you move, you're burning oxygen and producing heat. The volume of oxygen you consume per minute, denoted as VO2, gives a reliable estimate of your metabolic rate. So when you're exercising and your oxygen consumption spikes, it's a clear sign that your metabolic rate is also on the rise. But how do we know how fit you are? Well, to gauge that, we conduct a graded exercise test to exhaustion. This could be on a treadmill or a bicycle ergometer. The goal? To find out your maximal oxygen consumption, or VO2 max. This value is the gold standard for assessing fitness levels. It's like the horsepower of your body. The higher your VO2 max, the fitter you are. And here's the interesting part. Regular endurance training can actually increase your VO2 max. This happens due to improvements in your body's oxygen delivery system and the efficiency of your muscle mitochondria in utilizing oxygen. So, in essence, the more you train, the more oxygen your body can use, and the fitter you become. But there's more to indirect calorimetry than just measuring oxygen consumption. It also lets us peek into the type of fuel our muscles use during exercise. By measuring carbon dioxide production, we can calculate the respiratory exchange ratio, a value derived from the volume of carbon dioxide produced divided by the volume of oxygen consumed. This ratio tells us if our muscles are burning fat or carbohydrates. A ratio of 0.70 means you're burning pure fat, while a ratio of 1.0 suggests you're oxidizing pure carbohydrates. Indirect calorimetry doesn't just measure oxygen consumption, it also offers insights into the type of fuel our muscles use during exercise. And with that, we've just scratched the surface of the power of indirect calorimetry. Now that we know how much energy we're burning, wouldn't it be interesting to know what type of fuel our bodies are using? Well, indirect calorimetry allows us to do just that by measuring carbon dioxide production. This measurement enables the calculation of the respiratory exchange ratio, a fascinating window into our body's fuel utilization during exercise. This ratio is derived from the volume of carbon dioxide produced divided by the volume of oxygen consumed. It provides insights into whether our muscles are burning fat or carbohydrates. For instance, a respiratory exchange ratio of 0.70 suggests your body is primarily burning fat. In contrast, a ratio of 1.0 indicates that carbohydrates are your body's main fuel source. These ratios can shift based on the intensity and duration of the exercise, as well as your diet. Understanding these principles allows you to make informed decisions about your exercise routines, so why not use this knowledge to optimize your workouts?